Hi, hope you can hear me okay. Awesome. Right. Well, this is slightly daunting after I have also been working from home in isolation for the last 2 years to be confronted by so many people. But actually, I've had the honour of meeting a whole bunch of you already, and I'm going to say I'm really impressed at the work you've been doing and the projects you've been making. And I think that's actually already makes me feel a lot more comfortable in the talk I'm about to do. Is that working? Yep. So I guess a brief introduction of the topic I'm going to cover is about the fact that, yes, Unity very much has a presence in Dublin and in Ireland. We actually have 2 offices in Ireland. I'm an artist by trade, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about the artwork that goes on. I know that Unity is recognised as being a technology company. Maybe people don't realise that there is actually within Unity a whole pro art organisation, of which I am a part of. We have artists around the world, but actually very much the project and the team that I'm working with is very much focused in Dublin as being the hub of that. I guess me personally, I have over 20 years experience working in games. I started out at Codemasters making Toca racing games. I moved to Rebellion, where I've worked for a long time, and I only joined Unity a couple of months ago, and the last project I worked on, which is Sniper Elite 5, is due to release next week, and so I'm really excited about that. And actually a lot of the things I've learned and the processes, particularly around photogrammetry, have stemmed from that. And what I'm finding at Unity is that this is a place where I can really accelerate that and do more of that. So I was going to talk a little bit about that. I'm really regretting this slide because I put a slide in of just to sort of say presenter mode. Ooh, slideshow. Yeah, there you go. I put in a slide just to make sure that people know what Unity is, but I think everybody in this room does. But just to recap, it's actually interesting what you said, Peter, about the fact that Unity has democratized game development, because that's something I'm going to sort of touch on, but more from an art aspect, in that just like building your own game engine and coding that and a render engine and all the components that work into that, whether that's audio or getting it to run on different systems, is almost now precluded from people because it's such a big task for you to do that, that actually in some ways artwork has followed a similar route. I can remember when, making a barrel in a game would take a couple of hours. Now, in my experience, a good artist can spend close to 2 weeks to make a barrel at game standard, and actually to build a whole world environment at that level of fidelity is almost impossible for many people. So I won't tell you what Unity is because I think you'll know that. But what is interesting about Unity and its presence in Ireland is that actually it started back in 2014. The first nucleus of that was an incubator project at this very university run by a PhD student by the name of Eric Risser, and that became the founding of a project called Artomatics. I don't know if any of you have used that as part of the Unity package. That then some years ago was then acquired by Unity and became Art Engine, and now is a much larger team than that. And so what is Art Engine? Art Engine is a node-based material editing piece of software. It particularly relies on ML and AI learning to proceduralize and synthesize assets. Particularly good for making material assets, actually. I shouldn't be promoting it, but actually being able to make tiling assets out of that is a really powerful component of that. And what we start to see here is both a springboard of Unity's interest in creating artwork, but also the formation of an art team within Unity. So I have a quick slide of some of the content that we've made with Art Engine. So these are probably concepts that are very familiar to you: removal of components that retile badly, making seamless materials, setting up thresholds for that. And also being able to synthesize materials, to be able to photogrammetrically capture one asset, and turn it into multiple assets. Often we want more. Typically in game work, we're often looking for materials in sets of 3. We often want something in a clean state, a semi-damaged state, and a complete damaged state. So when we're doing vertex blending between those, we've got both commonality and that contrast. So as I alluded to at the beginning, that's, what problem are we trying to solve is the fact that we're finding that artists are having to move between many different programs, having to move between Reality Capture or ZBrush or Blender or Substance Painter or Substance Designer. Maybe they're using Art Engine as well, hopefully. But we're also finding this problem, like I said, that actually to create artwork at the kind of levels which is now expected of high caliber games is so difficult. Even if you have the technical know-how and the understanding, that's one of the problems. But having the time to be able to do that is very problematic, and being able to have the time or money, often you can say time and money are interchangeable. And so what we're starting to do at Unity is, just like we democratized a game engine, we're starting to think about the democratization of artwork and building an asset library that people can use, repurpose and use from there. And so I guess, looking at assets that are not just you just download, but things that you can reconfigure, you can repurpose, that you can kit bash together, taking this from the perspective of game developers, which we are, and actually trying to give people the content that we think they need, because we come from a point of knowledge in that we've been there, we've done that ourselves, and so we have that understanding. But also trying to think about the content that we give them is not just static still stuff, but actually thinking about, okay, people want to build game worlds, but they also want to animate and move it. They want doors that open, fridges that the doors will open, cars where the wheels will turn, all the way up to much more complicated things, such as full animation, but also a whole material set. Like often we find that people don't have to go to another source to find sky domes or brushes or brine maps and things like that as well. So we're trying to give a whole encompassed view of what people need. So yeah, so that is our mission. That's something we're starting to work on and we're starting to look at. In amongst some other things, we have some very other interesting things going on at Unity as well. We have a lot of research projects. We're bringing on new types of tools and data sets, and how we put this into a cloud environment as well and bypass downloading type areas. But like I say, I think our barriers to entry of artwork are knowledge, money, and time, and these are things we're trying to bypass. And so for me personally, in the team I represent, the content team, which is run out of our Dublin office, we have this kind of, in my mind, I have this sort of bucket where I'm trying to collate content. That comes from our Dublin team. In fact, earlier this morning, I was in Nass, which is, I think, just to the east of Dublin at a reclamation yard. I have a team of 7 artists who are there today and tomorrow scanning, photogrammetry scanning assets all day. We have an embedded location scout. We do release forms. Everything is like film grade in that we have to license it. We have to get approval on all of that. So we do that. We also have a team out of Copenhagen, which is obviously where Unity is founded. So I'm lucky enough to have another scan team based out of there. In Sweden, we have a demo team who also within them have another photogrammetry team. So we're able to work with them in a bilateral way. We give them content, they give us content. SpeedTree, which possibly is a piece of middleware that some of you have heard of, is pretty much industry standard for vegetation and foliage. That is a company that was acquired by Unity recently. I'm very fortunate to have the SpeedTree artists work with me, and so we have access to all of their fantastic content, which is being used in so many games and films. It's hardly worth listing. Ziva Dynamics, a very interesting animation studio based in Northern Ireland. They're really starting to stretch their legs and show their prowess in animation systems. And lastly, out on the right here, yeah, just as I had accepted my job at Unity, I got the news that they had bought Weta Digital. And I'm lucky enough to be building a team at the moment of up to 14 staff in Wellington, New Zealand, which gives me very late nights as I interview people out there. But I've got a database of somewhere between 20 and 25,000 digital assets that have been created for the entire Weta catalogue of films. So interestingly on that, anything that's associated to an IP of a film that was, could be recognised from that film is off limits, but anything generic, so things like props, backdrops, weapons, tools, furniture and stuff like that we have access to. So I'm currently, it's another problem that I'm trying to solve, is how do we take assets that were built for VFX, they were never intended to run at real time, they were offline renders, like a film set where you kind of see like a saloon bar and you peek around the side and you realize there's nothing there. I think we might be finding assets like that in these things. So that's very interesting. It's I guess one of the nice things about artwork is that everything is a different challenge, and that's why it's constantly interesting. So so we've got that going on. I was just going to quickly touch on what it is to do photogrammetry. Some of you may be familiar with this already, but I'll kind of cover over some of the stuff that we do. First off is kit, and is one of the barriers to entry is that, yeah, good photogrammetry is all about the good photography. If your sourced material is bad, then you're on a, you're going badly after that. So we're very lucky. We shoot with Sony A7R4 cameras, which shoot at 63 megapixels. We have some very nice ring flashes. Pretty much we're using 35mm prime camera lenses, and we're lucky enough that we spend a lot of our time on location. It's probably one of the cushiest parts of our job, is that we get to go to beautiful places. This is shot in the Burn, but like I say, we've been out in salvage yards today. More recently, I've been in France shooting World War II bunkers. We spent a lot of time in the UK at National Trust properties. Basically, if we want it, then we have to find the real thing if we're going to capture it. And so a lot of that is building up alliances with places and organizations such as museums and things like that. So that's very important. I think a lot of games development can go on at home behind closed doors, but photogrammetry absolutely doesn't. You've really got to go out and find it. Typically for us, like this broken palette, that, like I said, there's a lot of photography, typically between 300 and 500 shots. Each of those will have a raw image of about 123 meg. So we start to get into data issues here, perhaps how are we actually going to capture that? How are we going to store it? How are we going to even move it from computer to computer? How are we going to process that? We start to hit those as backlogs. We're very fortunate because we are a tech company that we have whole squads of elite engineering people who will come to our rescue and go, hey, we'll hook up this system, we'll automate this, we'll write a bot that will do that. And so as artists, we're very fortunate to have those kind of people on hand to assist us and kind of turbocharge our process. From there, as you possibly know, we're processing point cloud data, which gives us very high resolution content, and then we start to bake that down and down. And I guess for us, this is that make or break moment where we have to start considering what is our final fidelity standard. Are we looking to work for VFX people, virtual productions, or is it AAA game or AA game or single A games? And how do we do that? And how do we not just lock our assets into one set and preclude everyone else? And of course, what we want to do is have our cake and eat it. And so again, we're working very much with our tech teams and procedural logging tools as to how we can best do all of those things and keep everybody happy, because yeah, as you probably know, I'm sure games have very many different requirements. Even the same environment viewed through first person or third person or overhead has a massive change on the artwork requirements that are needed. But actually, we work through that. It takes about, depending on the kind of asset, anywhere between 2 and 5 days, I guess, on average, to scan an asset. And here we've got, at the bottom here, we've got that broken palette, and at the back, some other elements we've got in. And we can very quickly start to get very high quality content going on. So that's something we're doing. And I guess the trick for us is we've just got to go out and find more and more and build those into coherent sets. People don't want sporadic things. People don't want lovely limestone and a fire engine. We need to actually build and supply kits that people go, hey, I want to build a Bavarian village, or I want to build an Australian outback scene. So we've got to start getting into that mode and thinking about how artists want to work, which is something we're very much doing. Cool. Oh, I've got to request access. Okay, we'll come back to that. That would have been a very nice video. you visualize this, you imagine this. So that would have shown us some very nice scans. It would have shown us some of the wetter tools that we have available as well, which are starting to come online as well. Those sort of as a slightly separate offering. Obviously, wetter gives us a lot of tools for procedurally building landscapes, cityscapes, for the destruction of those, and also animation tool sets as well, which we're hoping will come in and complement our content offering and actually give it a far more coherent set of tools to people. But yeah, it looks like we're not. Yeah, but like I say, a lot of that is being orchestrated out of our Dublin office. I am from the UK and I come out, but actually most of my team are in Dublin. It's organised there, it's managed there. We have some fantastic people there, and moreover, we are hiring. I'm currently shopping for 2 materials artists, 3 outsource artists, and yeah, we have a lot of engineering folk as well. So if you are after a role, then please have a click on that link or catch me afterwards if you want to know more. And yeah, that's kind of it. I'll leave my details up there. Anyone's welcome to ping me an email or hook me up on LinkedIn if you have any questions that you wanted to ask me.